everyone. Thanks for joining us at the Center for Teaching and Learning. Today, our session is on the Canvas Commons, and Angela Meek is here to help us with this.
Righty. Hello, everyone. Angela Meek here over in eLearning. Thanks for joining me today. I've kind of broadened the scope of this to be more of a sharing is caring kind of a session. Before we jump into Commons, I want to really briefly go over ways that you can share content between your own classes, because not everyone is aware that you can share things directly from course to course. And then we will jump into looking at the Commons. So really quickly, let's say I have some wonderful content in my class that I just want to quickly push over to another section. A lot of people teach two sections and they don't necessarily have them merged so that all the students are living in the same space, and that's great. There's lots of valid reasons for doing that. But let's say you've built something, middle of the semester that you then want to share with your other section. There are a couple of ways you can very easily copy it over. So the first one, if it's just an individual item, like let's say I've got this content about cookies that I've added that I want to copy over to my other section, it's just a matter of clicking on the more dots options on the right here and saying copy to. Now you want to be careful not to say send to, because, whoa, that was weird. It will actually move it from one class to another, and I don't want to send it, I just want to copy it. So when I say copy to, I can start typing the course. I'm an admin, so it's going to show a whole bunch of things, but I can start typing the name of the course I want to copy it to, and I can select the course. And I can even go so far as to place it in a specific module if I want to. So in theory, I would have the same cookie module in my other class, and I would select the module here. If you don't select a module, you'll notice I'm copying a page of content. So it's just going to go into my pages area, and then I would navigate out to my module and do an add page, just like you would for adding any page to a content module. So I'm not going to pick a specific module. I'm just going to say bring it over, hit copy, and that's it. That's as quick as it goes. Then if I come into that other class, I could just go add page and find my cookies. Maybe it's not quite that quick. I have to wait a minute or two for it to show up. Yep, there it is. There's cookies. So pretty quick. Page, cookies. There we go. So I've copied that little page from one class to another. You can actually do that with an entire module, and anything that's in the module will come in that copy. So again, from the options dots on the right, I just say copy to, locate the course I want, and I can bring that whole module over. When you're doing a copy like this, you're going to start in the course that has the stuff, right? Obviously, and then you'll direct it to the course that needs the stuff. We can also do individual item copies using the course copy process. And when you do that, you're going to start in the course that needs the stuff. So let's say I didn't have the cookie page in this class and I needed to go get it and maybe some other things. I can do a course copy. So if I'm on the home page, I can access the import existing content button on the right-hand side. And then I'm going to say this is a course copy, but I am going to do a select specific content. So I have to find my source course first, which is my sandbox. I think it's called AM Sandbox. There we go. And I'm going to say select specific content. Now here's the part that sometimes makes people nervous. You actually have to click the import button before you will be allowed to select the content. So once I hit import, then I will see a button on the right-hand side that says select the content. The advantage of this process is you can select multiple things from multiple areas in your course and bring them over into the other course. The first method I showed you was literally just either you have to bring a whole module or just a single piece of content. So you can't grab a quiz and an assignment and something else that live in different places. But with this method, you can. So if I do it this way, I can open up my assignments and I could say, okay, I want this one and this one. I could open up quizzes and say, okay, I want these 3. And maybe I do want module 4 in its entirety. So I can pick and choose what I want. and it's not going to double up anything else in my course. We kind of had issues with that back in the Blackboard era. If you did a course copy like this, you would get duplicates. But it's only going to bring in the stuff that you have selected. It's not going to double up or change any of your settings or anything like that. So once you have selected what you want, you just hit select content and it will bring what you have selected over.
Hey, Angela.
Uh-huh.
I see on that page that you have there right now that it says you can bring in the LCSC template. Is that available to us? Because I have a class that doesn't have that. Will that show up on mine?
It will not, but that's part of Commons now. We have actually shared the template out to Commons and you can bring it into your course from Commons. Yes.
Okay,
And
cool.
one of the advantages of doing that and having things out on Commons is that if you've brought that in from Commons and then we push changes out, you can get it from Commons again, and those updates will override the existing material, which we had an issue with that when the LC website changed. A bunch of our student resources links broke. And so we were like, oh, hey, if we push this out to Commons, then as we change those, people won't have to do all the crazy jujitsu that they had to do this semester to update that.
Cool.
Just overrides. So any questions on sharing from within your own courses? This is sharing between courses that you are enrolled in. Individual, yeah. Okay, I think everyone's familiar with those. Not everybody knows about this one though, where you can go directly to the item and just drop it somewhere else. Okay, let's talk about Commons. Commons is accessed from your global navigation on the left. And this is a pretty amazing thing. I'm just going to say it. This is a global repository of content that Canvas users across the world have chosen to share out to the Canvas community. So when you come in here, you will not only see content that was shared by people at LC, but also with the Canvas community. And you've got right here 200 and some odd thousand results. So you can come out to this Commons area and you can search for content that you might want to bring into your own class. I always like to search for ASL because usually it comes up with some good stuff. So I could come up here and say, search for something for American Sign Language. And I'm going to get all kinds of content that I can bring in. And you'll notice there are different icons for the different kinds of content. So you can get an individual page. Some people will post entire courses. This is just a module. You might see quizzes. Here's an assignment. Here's a quiz. So you can find all kinds of things that people have shared. And if you want to take a look at what this is, like, oh, Thanksgiving is coming up in my sign language class. Let me see what this is. I just click on the title and I can preview the content that's in this. So this has one module with one page and one file. And you can't, sometimes the content, like if there's images, they don't necessarily display correctly in the preview, just as a heads up. But generally speaking, you should be able to go through and see everything that's in this page. And then you can see the files. There's an image of a turkey in here. So if I wanted to bring this into my course, over on the right, I can go import, download, and then I can select any course that I'm enrolled in. So I can bring this one piece into 15 different courses if I wanted to. We'll talk about this in a second, but one of the advantages of sharing your own content to yourself out on Commons is that if you taught multiple sections of something, you could then bring it in to multiple sections at once. So I just pick what I want here. So let's say I'll drop it in here in this demo, and I'll drop it into my upcoming spring class because I can go in and delete it. So I can select whatever class I want, and I can say import into the course. Now you will notice there is a download button, and there is a difference between importing it directly and downloading it to your computer and then bringing it into Canvas. If you download it to your computer first and then you import it in, then if there are updates that this person shares out to Commons, those will not override the content because it wasn't imported directly from Commons. Because when you import something, it kind of like it links it to that material that was living out on Commons. So when updates get pushed out, you get a little notice that says, oh, they've updated the ASL Thanksgiving. And if I go out and grab it again, it will override the previous stuff in my course. Then I don't end up with duplicate files and modules and a big mess. But if you download it and bring it in, it will not override. Does that make sense?
Can I ask a question with that?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
You just get, so let's say you love it. You get notified and you get to choose if you want the update.
Yes, you can choose if you want the update.
So if you're
After
like, I love it, I actually don't want it to change,
Right.
then you just ignore it.
Correct. What will happen is when you bring this in and then you access Commons, you'll see this little updates thing will have an alert that'll say like 1. And when you come into updates, it'll say, these are the courses that these are the items from Commons that you have brought into your course that the creator has since updated since you last brought it in, and you can choose to update it. It doesn't force you to. That's an excellent question. Let me go back to my little. So let's say I want this guy, I'm gonna import, grab my classes, import, ta-da! And there you go, you've successfully started the import. This is a pretty small thing, so it shouldn't take too long for that to show up. And since this is a module, it's gonna show up on my modules page at the bottom of my modules. Let's see how quickly it will arrive. And there it is, Thanksgiving vocabulary videos and a turkey picture. So it's super easy to bring things in. You can, back at Commons, you can filter. So if you come up to the upper right, you can filter by what kind of material you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for a quiz in sign language or anthropology or whatever, assignments, discussions, pages, whatever. So you can decide, I'm looking for a full module on something, or I just want a quiz on something, or both. The content type thing, those settings are kind of weird. I mean, I guess if somebody tags their content as a template, otherwise I just always leave those unchecked. So it doesn't narrow it down. And then you can go by grade level. You'd be a little careful with this, of course, because sometimes, I might think that my content is 7th grade level, but really it would apply to 5th graders too, or maybe 9th graders. So if you do filter it down, you might be limiting yourself and missing out on things that might still work for you. And you can also filter down by everyone, all the public resources, or you can just see the LC community. So if I were to be looking for, Marlo, for example, if you want to come out here and find the LC template to bring into your classes, it would be probably faster to filter by LC, so you're only seeing LC stuff. And then there's the template right there. So if you had a blank class you wanted to bring that into, just click on LC template. You already know what's in it. You can import it. I'm going to drop it into my spring class for next semester. And wham, bam, there it is. If I go back to my search, my filter is still on, so I can see here that I'm still just seeing LC content. And then there are a whole bunch of other things that we have shared out, the library has shared out, the Math and Science Tutoring Center has this little module. So if your class has math stuff in it, you can pull this module in. If your class does peer reviews using the Canvas peer review tool and you want a module that teaches your students how to use that tool, that's what this module is. The unit check module is the same kind of thing. These are designed from the student perspective to teach the students how to use these Canvas tools. Lockdown browsers out here. This was that update we had to push out about the student resources that all the web links broke. Then there are some things from the library, and what else is in here? All kinds of good stuff. A lot of it's library content. You can come out and browse. Oh, Zoom info for students. These must be, and then yeah, peer review assignment instructions. All kinds of fun things. So it looks like I might need to get in here and delete some stuff. Now, if you've shared content out here, your shared content comes up under the shared tab. So these are things that I have personally shared out, and I can come in here and delete them if I no longer want them available to people. What else under, I think that's all good stuff under filters.
You might be going to talk about this later. So the Commons, do you have to share it with everyone? Can you limit?
Do not.
Who
So
you
if
share
you,
with? But if I'm getting ahead, then
no, that's okay. No, that's where we're headed next, actually,
Okay.
is if you want to share your own stuff out here. So the administration, when we first moved to Canvas, people way above my pay grade made the decision that as an LC employee, faculty, staff, whatever, you can only share to the LCSC domain. We cannot share our content to this global repository. That was a decision made by whomever above my pay grade. So that's where it's sitting right now. So if you share your own things out, you have the choice to share it to anyone on the LC domain or to yourself. So you have your own little private area. And that would be like if you wanted to share out, you made a final and you need to copy it to 3 other sections more quickly than doing it one at a time. You could share it to yourself and then bring it into your own classes. Anything that you share to the LC domain is visible by anyone who's from LC. So some people are like, well, what if I just want my division to see it, and so that other, people who teach other versions of my class can use it? Technically, anyone at LC could see it and bring it in if they really wanted to. Or you could share it out there, let them grab it, and then go out and take it away by deleting it out of your shared space. But it's really easy to share things too. So let's look at that. Excuse me. All right, in my little demo course, let's say, and you can share, just like you can find individual items, assignments, quizzes, whatever, you can share individual items to Commons just by going to the options for the item, and it's share to Commons is right there. So that could be anything. I could go to my assignments page and do the same thing if I wanted to share out something about, here's my final, I want to share it out to Commons. Let's say, let's do that. I'm going to share my final so I can bring it into my other section. And here's where I tell it, I only want myself to be able to see it. The featured content thing is kind of, technically everyone can mark their stuff as featured. So if everyone marks it, then nothing is really featured. You can decide on the copyright. So it doesn't, the copyright thing is kind of interesting. It doesn't prevent anyone from downloading your stuff if you share it to the LC domain. It's just, I guess it allows you to say like, hey, if you're going to use my stuff, it's copyrighted. What kind of attribution do I need to use with it? And I might just say, okay, mine, I don't care if you use it. You just need to provide attribution. It has to have a title. So this would be my final exam, fall 2021. Has to have a description, my final. Again, I'm sharing it to myself though, so I don't have to go crazy with this stuff. And they make you attach an image to everything because the tiles on the Commons searching area have these nice little, fancy, cute little things. And so they make you put a picture on here. But when you bring that content in, that doesn't override your course card. It's just an image to help with searching, I guess, or make it look pretty. So it will, it's already kind of like it found the word fall. So now it's bringing up all these pictures of fall. But if I were to get rid of that in my search terms, maybe I'll find something a little more relevant. There we go. That looks nice. And those are all free to use images. So you can just grab whatever and it'll drop it on there. And then you can control the grade level if you want to change that. You can use the sliders or you can use a drop down to tell it what grade level it is. And then I would just say share. Lets me, with like, this is the kind of content, it's still processing, so I can't look at the quiz and the quiz questions yet. But if I come up into my shared tab, then I can see I'm the only one that will be able to see that. So there it is. And then if I wanted to bring it into multiple versions of my classes, I can go do the same process. I can click on my resource, import it, and select every class that I want to bring that into. So that's kind of nice because it's fast. You can copy it to all sorts of things in one fell click. If I did share it to the LC domain, because let's say you two are teaching this, maybe you're teaching the same class, but you're sharing resources, but you're not enrolled in each other's class, so you can't do a direct copy. You could share it out to the LC domain and then either email or call and say, okay, I've grabbed it, then come back out and delete it. Any questions? I mean, that's really, oh, let me show you. Actually, is it done processing? What happens if I bring it in? Here we go. All right, so let's say I want to bring this final in. I'm going to show you what happens if I make a change, and then you can see that updates process. So I'm going to bring this into my spring section for next spring. Drop that in there. My newly templated course. Oh, so there it is. So then I'm reviewing it and I go, oh man, that is not the correct answer. Turtle is not a mammal. But I've just copied that into 6 other courses. Well, okay, I need to update that. So I have to go back to the original class that I built the final in, which is this one. Then if I make a change to it, okay, I misclicked. I meant to click cat, not turtle. Update question, save. Now if I go back and I share it out to Commons again, it's gonna say, oh, we recognize this piece of content. What are you doing there, Angela? And you can say this is an update to a previously shared resource. And this is the one I'm updating. Well, I'm still the only one who can see it. And then you can actually enter version notes. So corrected question, ooh, can't type. Number 1. Everything else stays the same. I just hit update. And there I've pushed out a new version. Now, in theory, again, not sure how long that's going to take. It might take longer than nothing to update. You are wrong because I know there is an update. It might just take a second. Don't know how long it takes for the updates to refresh. Still have the wrong one. Aha, there we go. There it goes. So yeah, that was pretty quick. So now I see the quiz was updated on October 21st. Ooh, I can view the notes. So here's where I can go to the update and decide, oh man, there was an error in the quiz. I would definitely want to go out and grab this update. But otherwise, this is where you could say, nope, don't care, dismiss. I like it the way it is. But if I do want to fix it in my class, I would just click update. It will replace your current resource. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes, please. And bam, there you go. So it automatically just zipped that over to my class or multiple classes if they all had it. As far as I know, it doesn't let you pick, like, let's say I did copy it to 5 of my classes. I don't think you can pick and choose which 5 you update. It's just any course that has that resource. If you're choosing to apply the update, it's going to apply it to all of them. And then we can pop back in there and see how our beautiful little update was so quick and snazzy. You would definitely not want to do that if students had taken the quiz. But this would be like, oh, I caught that error before my students took my final. Now we have.
So what would happen if you did it when they had already taken the quiz?
I haven't actually field tested that, but based on just the way I know the quizzes work, it either wouldn't update or it would override and blank out the students' submissions and they would have to take it again. I can actually field test that and follow up with you because that's a good thing to know. But yeah, there are different ways to fix quiz question errors if students have already taken the quiz.
Okay.
Yeah, but here you can see it fixed it and it's just all Jim Dandy to the rescue. Really easy to do. All right. Questions, comments, thoughts? I didn't expect this one to take a full hour because one of the beautiful things we love about Canvas is everything is really user intuitive and simple to use. So
I think this is going to make my life easier. I mean, it just really is. I haven't used the comments because I just wasn't super clear about how it worked. I guess I'm excited because I generally teach 2 face-to-face and 1 online. And so, yeah, and I haven't wanted to merge my 2 face-to-face because I'm still trying to build community and those are still 25 people. And I feel like that's just kind of a nice, safe, they're posting in the discussion board. I was tempted though, because again, I'm having to send out the same announcement in 3 classes. It's the same, like basic information, but it's not totally the same, especially between the online and the and the face-to-face class, but this seems really good, especially making updates, and because I'm teaching that every semester, this will be a
Right.
lot easier, I think.
And as far as I know, you can do if you go into your announcements after you've made an announcement, yeah, you can copy too and do the same thing with an announcement as well.
Oh.
So
I've done it with the modules and I've done it with the quizzes. So I knew about the copy too, but like I wasn't doing that. Like I love the idea that I can import that and do that to like lots of assignments. I was like, ooh, that's pretty
yes,
cool too.
yeah.
And I hadn't figured that out. So that too will be super easy.
You can even share your announcements to the Commons. Yeah, so if you had some sort of, well, like for example, an example I could think of off the top of my head is if you had welcome to the class, and you weren't being class specific per se, because you were just going to introduce yourself, give a little bit of your background about, your teaching experience and whatever. You could share that out to the Commons, and then every semester for all 6 classes you teach, you could just be like, bah, 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 bring that beautiful little pre-made instructor announcement into all of my classes. So lots of cool.
I copy my announcements because I write kind of module specifics, like pay attention to these big ideas.
Right.
But I generally have to change, update dates and stuff.
Right.
And I'm going into each announcement. So if I have them in the Commons,
Right.
I just do it in one. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool tool.
Because I usually miss one. I mean, there's always one where I'm like, oh, dang it. I thought I updated every class and
Right.
yeah.
Well, and we kind of struggled with the template, how can we make it easier for instructors to get to it? Because the other option would have been every instructor gets enrolled in the template, because you can only course copy courses that you're enrolled in. But then we realized we kind of had a duh/aha moment. Oh, if we put it out on Commons, people can just go and grab it whenever they want it. So it's like, yay, we figured it out.
That's great. I actually didn't know about that. And I'm so happy. Like I knew I needed the template, but I was trying to copy it from another course, and then it was being weird. So
well, and we were sort of relying on when people would email us and say, hey, can you copy it into my class? We would go, you can go get it from Commons, but not, to be able to know what's out there. And another common one that people use is Lockdown Browser. And yet there wasn't a really good resource for people to put in their courses for students about how to use Lockdown Browser. So we made this little module, and it has, pages for students on how to use Lockdown Browser. It has some sample, practice quizzes so they can make sure they've configured it properly if you don't already have that. And when you are bringing something in, some items, you can, well, maybe not. I was thinking you could select what you wanted, but the one thing I did forget to mention is when you're looking at content and you're previewing it, like in this example, you can see here, these pages are published and this module is published. If you want to bring this content in unpublished first, you can actually unpublish it. Oh, I'm a big fat liar. I thought you could unpublish it. Okay, well, it's going to come into your class with whatever publishing status it has out in Commons. I thought you could unpublish it, but if not, it's important to be aware that it will come in as published. So if you don't want the students to see it right away, then you're going to want to immediately go in and unpublish it before they see it, and then you can make tweaks and do whatever. So these quizzes would actually come in as unpublished. It's where you could do that, but I guess I'm just misremembering. All right.
So Angela, I was wondering if I took something from the Commons and put it in a class, and then the person who made that stopped sharing it, would it go away from my class?
Nope. It doesn't go away, but then if they, you're just left with that last version.
Okay.
Because you are, in a sense, you are sort of copying it, but you are getting a full bringing it out. It's sort of that tied in piece with the updates just has to do with updates and not the actual, like the content doesn't have to continue to, so it's not like if I embed something from YouTube and then that YouTube creator takes their video down, then I lose my embed, right? This is not like that. You are actually grabbing a copy of it.
Great.
That's a good question. No one has asked me that one.
Well, of course, that was where I'm like, what if I'm building this unit about it and it disappears?
Where did it go? Ah! Yeah.
Yeah, the on-demand movies sometimes go away and you've got them embedded in and you're like, I've like made a whole case study or and you figure it out like the day before you want to use it.
Right. Oh yeah. I had a couple of my internet resources die was it this semester or last semester, where students were like, this resource isn't there anymore. I'm like, okay, thanks. I'll get right on that. Yeah. Any other
super
questions, comments?
Yeah,
I mean, you have me here for at least another 24 minutes. If you want to ask me other things, we could stop the recording and I could answer other questions if you want, or everyone can go and enjoy a nice afternoon.
Why don't I go ahead and stop the recording and then we can hang out. So thank you, Angela. I really appreciate this.
Yay.